I'm Bob Schieffer, and this is Washington Unplugged. Senate and House committees are under pressure to pass health care legislation before they leave for the summer recess on August 8th. Yesterday, House leaders proposed a 1,018-page bill, which would cost an estimated $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years. The Blue Dog Coalition, those are moderates and conservative Democrats in the House, have voiced some concerns with the rate of negotiations and the tax increases that are included in this bill. We're joined by one of them right now, a Blue Dog leader, Congressman Jim Cooper, Democrat from Tennessee. And we're going to talk about this bill that just passed. Well, Congressman, let me just get your thoughts on it first. What do you think of this bill that was proposed in the House last night?
Well, Bob, it's one of the most important bills we'll ever consider, and there's a lot of good in it, but a lot of bad too, and we're trying to sort that out. As you mentioned, it's almost 1,000 pages. We just got it yesterday, so I'm trying to work my way through it.
Well, one of the things that caught my eye when I read the stories in the Washington Post this morning is it will include about at least a 5%, maybe as much as a 5% surcharge for people in the upper income brackets. You're talking about some pretty good size taxes when you start talking about increasing a 5% surcharge.
You're exactly right, Bob. Over 10 years, it's estimated to be about $543 billion, and that's billion with a B. That's a lot of money.
Well, would moderate and conservative Democrats such as yourself, would you go along with that?
Well, we don't like it for a couple of reasons. First, it takes money from outside the healthcare system and puts it into the healthcare system, and pouring more money into a broken system isn't a really good idea. Second, there's so much waste in today's healthcare system, we don't really need to go outside the healthcare system to find ways to fund the universal coverage that we're looking for. And third, there are some other difficulties. So much of the money they're planning on taxing really comes from small businesses, proprietors and partnerships, folks like that who are trying to create jobs. And Lord knows we need jobs during this tough recession.
Well, I think to kind of make this clear to people, this is something that was unveiled yesterday by House leaders. It has not passed the House. Nothing has actually passed at this point, nor is anything. Well, the one Senate committee just passed a bill yesterday, but that's the only thing that's actually been passed thus far. Is this going to get done by the August recess? Because President Obama said that's what he wanted. Do you think it's even possible that that can happen before the August recess?
It is possible, Bob. You as a journalist know that how creative deadlines can be. A lot of folks don't do their homework until they have to, and that's what you're finding with Congress right now. Congress has atrophied a lot of its skills. It hasn't done big legislation in a long, long time, and it's having to get its game together now, and it's doing it. In the last week or two, more folks are focusing on these important issues than they ever have before. And without a deadline, we really wouldn't be doing our homework. I've been fortunate. I've taught this for years at the graduate level at Vanderbilt, so I'm a little more schooled on this than some of my colleagues are.
Would you be willing to stay through the summer? I think a lot of people say, all Congress does is go on vacation. That they're going to do this. They got to get it done before the Easter recess. Then they've got something else they got to get done before the August recess. Why not just stay in session till you get it done?
I agree with you 100%, Bob. This is such an important bill. We've got to get it done, and I'm willing to sacrifice August vacation, any vacation, to get this done, because few bills are more important. If we do nothing, America literally risks bankruptcy. This isn't optional reform here. We've got to do something because the status quo is unsustainable.
Is the bill as it is now written, as it's been unveiled yesterday, could you vote for it in its present form, Congressman?
I don't know the answer to that yet, Bob. I'm trying hard to weigh the pros and cons, but it takes a while to read 1,000 pages, and it looks like so far the new way of shopping for health insurance in the bill, called exchanges, is a good reform. It's basically like an annual menu, so that once a year you'd be able to shop for health insurance the way federal employees have been able to do it for 30 or 40 years. So you can see the price and what you're buying up front. And that's going to encourage a more efficient marketplace, and that's good. And that's largely private sector. That's very important reform that we should have had years ago, and now maybe we'll get it with this bill.
Some Republicans are saying that if you, the Blue Dog Democrats, want to, you can block this legislation. Do you think, I know you're not a spokesman for your colleagues, you're a spokesman for yourself, obviously, but do you think that would happen? Do you think that, that Blue Dog Democrats may decide in the end this is too much and that it costs too much and there's not enough reform in here and that you might block this legislation?
We're going to find the answer to that question probably on Monday or Tuesday of next week. We had a very tough meeting yesterday with the speaker. She came and joined us for about an hour and a half and went through a lot of issues. There are about 7 or 8 Blue Dogs on the key committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee, and they will be starting markup on a Thursday with opening statements, then Friday, largely less controversial public health issues. The real crunch time will come Monday and Tuesday of next week, and whether we have enough votes, whether there's sufficient Blue Dog anger to hold together and to not oppose the bill, but to improve the bill, to edit it, because, you know, there's never been a first draft that was good. All first drafts need improvement, and we need to take this through the second draft, third draft, so that it can be good for all Americans, regardless of what state they live in.
Well, let's just talk about this whole idea of taxes, this surcharge of more than 5% for some in the upper income brackets. Is that going to stay in the bill, do you think?
Well, most people think it would never pass the Senate, so the House would be needlessly walking the plank on this issue. Another key point is this. President Obama in the campaign said that he would not tax the rich or small businesses above Clinton and Reagan levels. I think that's a very important pledge. I think we should keep that pledge for him. And unfortunately, if we go through the surtax, that would be violating the president's pledge to the voters. So I think that's a big mistake for a Democratic Congress to undermine our own Democratic president's credibility.
So at this point, you yourself would not vote for something that included that surtax?
The pay-fors in this bill are not good. We should be getting the pay-fors from the health system itself. Yesterday in our meeting with the speaker, she declared her preference. She'd ideally like to get all the savings from the health system itself, because it's estimated to be wasting $700 billion a year, our current healthcare system. There's a wonderful book on this by Shannon Brownlee called Overtreated, so that the average interested citizen back home can read about this and understand the many wasteful parts of today's system.
So at this point, where do you think this all is? Do you think that my sense of it is that you're not going to meet the president's deadline. I mean, it's a self-imposed deadline of getting health care bills passed in both the House and Senate before the August recess. Do you think you can even get it out of committee, or do you and get something passed out of those committees, or do you in fact think you will get a bill passed before the recess?
I think it's possible to get a good bill passed by August 1st, which is nearly the president's deadline. I think nothing so concentrates the mind as the fear of hanging. And there are a lot of congressmen worried right now about hanging because our folks back home are upset already with previous legislation. It's vitally important we realize that health care is more important than anything else we'll do, because this is even more important than a war and peace vote, because in health care, everybody's on the battlefield. Every human life in this country is at stake. We've got to get it right. And that's worth staying weeks and months for to get it right. And I think we can do it, because finally people are paying attention.
So, well, I have one more question. This is just strictly a political question. Governor Palin, who's soon going to step down in Alaska, says that she's ready to get out and campaign for moderate and conservative Republicans and Democrats. So I guess I would call you a moderate Democrat. Are you going to ask her to come down and campaign in Tennessee for you, Congressman?
The answer is very simple, no.
All right. Congressman Jim Cooper, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks for watching Washington Unplugged at CBSNews.com. I'm Bob Schieffer.